Good afternoon, everybody. This is kind of a use case about the cloud and how we use it to collaborate in remote television production. And this is involving sports. For those of you that don't know the Pac-12, it consists of two entities. One of them is the conference itself, which manages all of the governance issues around sports and the scheduling of the sports that take place around our conference. It's one of 5 power college conferences in the country. We have 12 universities in 6 Western states. We have more NCAA titles than any other conference. We're closing in on 500. I think we had 598 this weekend when the Oregon girls track team won the NCAA title. It's 100 years old. We celebrated our centenary last year. And we also license out our content to Fox and ESPN. Those are our broadcast partners. So that's the conference. That's their job. That's what they do. The Networks, on the other hand, is a media company, an integrated media company. We launched in 2012. We're located in San Francisco, which is both a blessing and a curse. It's an independent media company. We have 6 regional sports networks and 1 national network, as well as digital properties we produce for Facebook Live, Twitter, international, and our own TV Everywhere platforms. Our affiliates include Comcast, Spectrum, Dish, Sling, and yes, we are not on DirecTV, unfortunately. We produce 850 live events a year out of the 3,000 controlled Pac-12 events. 851 is not meant for linear distribution. That's what we use we produce for Twitter. We also produce background events for Facebook Live. These are behind the scenes, locker room, in the huddle, pep rallies, band marching into the venue, those kinds of things. And they get big numbers. Troy, if we want to play the video now, this is an example of what goes on our networks in just one weekend. Hopefully it works. Sorry. There we go.
Home of the California Golden Bears. Today hosts our first Pac-12 tennis telecast of the season.
Here comes Ledecky, American record on the line. Got it!
Holy mother of pearl, that was awesome. You guys should be extremely proud of yourselves.
Calissa Blythe went 9-9 in her 2 events tonight.
This team has been really strong, really supportive. We really love each other, so it's been great.
Loose ball. And the heave. Are you serious? Happy senior weekend, Sophie Bruner. I've never seen anything like this. Bam. McCall tees up the 3, and that'll do it.
Oregon State sweeps its season series with the Stanford Cardinal.
Cash, tough 3, blocked by Allen. Pritchard can't get the follow. There's Jordan Bell to put it in.
I jumped my highest on that last possession. I thought it was going to be a shot clock violation, and luckily it went in.
Look at the height done in combination, double back somersault.
9-9-7-5. And how they overcome with emotion.
Kelsey Plum, oh baby. Everybody here to see how close Kelsey can get to the national scoring record. Plum, just like that. Here we go.
We are thrilled to be back here in Eugene to bring you 2017 ACRO and tumbling coverage.
Here we go. Hesitation. Plum. And there it is! Plum has tied Jackie Stiles. This place is going nuts.
Finishing full twisting double back.
She goes after it.
Big punch.
I've been waiting for this moment forever, just to compete in front of them and watch me in college gymnastics.
And your Oregon Ducks posting a score of 100.3.
And the Oregon Ducks have done it. They have defeated Baylor for the first time in this era.
Plum. Ladies and gents, you are looking at the #1 scorer in women's D1 college basketball, Kelsey Kelsey Plum.
What a night here in the Pac-12 to see two great teams going head-to-head.
Way to get it done that way, Utah!
And they sweep all 5 relays, and they set 5 American records throughout the meet. What a meet for the Cardinal, your 2017 Pac-12 champion.
I thought I was having a blast this whole year, but then I got to this meet and kind of took it to a whole nother level.
Working quickly, lost his footing, found justice, rising for 3! And the Sun Devils stun SC Lakes.
And Zahid Valencia, his 5th win in a row by fall. And the Sun Devils going to have enough points to take the team title as well.
The Beavers looking to clinch the outright Pac-12 title. Oh, look at that pass by Sid Weiss. Oh, baby Gulich with the gimme. Oh, Sid. It's 10th ranked Oregon State clinching the outright Pac-12 title, their 3rd straight conference crown.
What a weekend on the Pac-12 networks.
Kelsey. Oh, my goodness. And the beat just keeps on going.
I want to congratulate Kelsey Plum. She's a stud.
Thank you so much. Pac-12 Network, you've been amazing these last 4 years. Thank you for all your coverage, and go Dogs.
So sorry it was so long, but that's what goes on in one weekend at our place. So it's, I think that weekend we did 24 productions over the course of the weekend. And we had a couple of records, American records set at the swim meet and the NCAA champions. So it's a busy place, we do a lot, and we rely a lot on collaboration and what we do in the cloud to get our work done. So I wanted to give you a little context about the challenges that we faced and how we used this technology to meet the needs and the demands that we were facing. So when we launched 4 years ago, we were faced with this challenge where about 75 events of our 850 really garner an audience and attract advertisers. So those 75 events finance the rest of the schedule. I'm just going to be honest with you here. We don't have a big audience for acrobatics and tumbling. It just doesn't happen. But we do for men's football and men's and women's basketball, and women's gymnastics does also attract an audience. So about 75 of the 850 attract an events. That means the rest of it, the other 775, need to be produced as cheaply as possible. There's just no other way around it. We have to get the price point down if we're going to survive and keep this kind of content on the air. And you can see some of it is rather compelling. I mean, these kids play their hearts out. People like to watch it, and we're happy to produce it and do it justice. In addition to these challenges we had at launch, as we've developed and grown and as distribution technology has developed, we also now produce a number of events for Twitter and for Facebook. And this has added about another 500 events to our plate. So it's a lot of content that we're producing and pushing out for relatively small audiences. And the key for us to be able to do this is to do it as cheaply as possible. And again, this is what we're going to talk about. This is what I'll talk about. So these are the 3 rings of the circus here. We have acquisition, field production, and network distribution. That's the way we look at it. That's the way we've sliced it up. And this is how we've started tackling these problems. I know you don't see storage in here when we talk about the cloud. I will add just briefly that everything that we produce, everything that's an arable asset, every clean record of a game that we do goes to Glacier, and it lives there in perpetuity. It transitions through S3 where we try to monetize it for a period of time. We share data with our schools from S3, but it goes right to Glacier and it lives there forever. We don't have LTO in our plant. We don't have a piece of videotape in our plant. It's high, spinning disks and Glacier, and that's it for us. So if we could focus on acquisition, there for us it's signal transmission and how to get what goes on in the venues back to our studios in San Francisco so that we could integrate our interstitial content and put it on the air. What's important for us, that it's multipath, that it's bi-directional, it's low latency, and it has to have a lower price point than video. And that's what we shoot for when we went out trying to solve these problems. For field production, it's the usual complement: cameras, switching, mixing, instant replays, graphics. We have communications. We have to provide internet access on these remotes. And we also have 4-digit dialing on our telephones in the field, just to get the coord lines open with master control and what goes on in the truck. The third part is getting it out to the public, and that's network distribution. And it's the regular things that you do to distribute a linear television network, which, if you're familiar with them, you absolutely know what it is. On-air operations, graphics, asset management. So let's talk about acquisition first. Sorry about the typing, it isn't fitting in on this display, but we needed to develop big, fat, bi-directional pipes between our 100+ venues and our studios in San Francisco. So we went out looked at the end, and we secured 10 gigabit connections from our campus NOCs back to our studios in San Francisco. The campuses, the schools themselves provided the interconnectivity from the venues back to the NOC. So from each of our 12 institutions and our master control in Denver, we have 10 gigabit connections. We also have, those paths are obviously bidirectional. They're super low latency. Our highest latency is just over 30 milliseconds. It's a lower price point overall than our satellite truck and our Vivix video circuits that we were using prior to our deployment of this network. We have lots of services and communications, and what's interesting about this is that we're able to collaborate with the remotes in ways that we couldn't before. We supplement the productions that go on. If we can't find a remote operator for instant replay in Seattle, we could staff the position in San Francisco, have the instant replay taking place in San Francisco and just playing it out, and it goes right back to the truck and gets played out to the public. So it's really a very, once you have a big pipe and it's bi-directional, you could slice it up and use it however you want to. Again, enhancing the traditional field productions, which we do with these big pipes, is we could have the operators and the artists stay in the studios back in San Francisco. It saves a ton on travel. It has them work extra days. They're not out of pocket on a plane or getting to our more of our remote locations. It's easy for us to add resources. If a game comes up that takes on a new importance advantageously, we could add people to it. We don't have to plan ahead. We don't have to buy them airline tickets, worry about a rental car and hotels. We could just deploy somebody at a moment's notice if we see that Kelsey Plum is going to set the NCAA scoring record. We could add extra replay operators, enhance graphics to that game without any problem at all. And except for the operator, there's no additional expense. This allows us to get more topical content from the studio to the field, packages, player profiles, anything that we could develop that will enhance the broadcast, we could send out to the truck. Again, we have immediate highlights of transfers from the field to the studio. That's important for us, so we could instantly publish those highlights on Facebook and send them out on Twitter. We have other scenics and other background material that we could send directly to the EVS on the remote from our facility in San Francisco. And again, improved communication. We have fast internet service out at the remote truck, as well as 4-digit dialing for a number of our lines. So big IP, data-centric pipes. We're moving this stuff on for every single production. This stuff is going back and forth at very high rates. So we were able to achieve some efficiencies. Once we had these pipes in place, we figured out that while we enhanced some productions, we could take the entire production back to San Francisco, and we didn't need to have a typical remote OB or mobile unit. We could do everything in San Francisco just by taking the camera leads from the field and dragging them all back to San Fran. So in San Francisco, we have our TD, our director or producer, the instant replay, the graphics. Everybody is a graphics coordinator. Everybody is in San Fran except for the camera people, an A2 to lay out the field mics, and the engineer in charge that comes with the truck. That's all we have in the field. Everybody else is in San Francisco, including, at their discretion, the announcers. They could either choose to go to the remote or come to San Francisco to do the calls. It's up to them. We prefer them to come to San Fran. It's depending on the time of year. It could or could not be less expensive, but we like to have them with us. Some of them like to just be on the field so they could see everything that's going on. Either way, it's fine by us. The good thing about this is we have the highlights in our plant in San Francisco. We could publish immediately to Facebook or to Twitter, And usually we could add extra enhanced graphics to those highlights, which make them more compelling, and the number of hits and retweets goes up immensely once you start having that additional graphics enhancement, things like halos and arrows and directions of the play that we could all add on to it. We also have a return path going out to the site, and more than one if we wish, and we could send a lot of content back out to them, not only the profiles and the scenics and the packages that we spoke of earlier, but we could also send them feeds of other games that are happening that may or may not impact their event. So we could send that back to them so they could watch, have the highlights there so that they could replay it in their breaks or coming out of break. They have all the material they need and the ability to put this compelling content on the air that they wouldn't have with a traditional production. So we call this centralized production. ESPN calls it Remy's, at-home productions. We do 450 of these a year out of the 850. And just to give you an idea, just not to brag too much, but ESPN does 40 of them. So it's a much different scale, driven by our necessity because we can't afford to produce them in a traditional way. This is a collaboration example, and this is a series of highlights where I think there are 3, and there are 2 versions of each. The first version of the highlight is the way you would typically see it without our production model. It's just the highlight, the way it would be posted on Twitter or Facebook without any enhancement at all. The second example is what we can do to it once it gets back in San Francisco and how that gets published from us. So Troy, if you could play this one for me, and again, go full screen on it when we get there. Thank you very much. So remember the first examples, no enhancements. This is what we used to post out to Facebook and put on our own websites as well. And the first clip doesn't have audio, but the second ones do. So you can see the example here is that first replay, 1 camera angle, that's it, that's all you get. The second example, multiple camera angles. We're able to add graphics onto the tweets. We could make it a lot more compelling than it would normally. It accelerates the retweets.
What a finish, and that is so fitting. One of the best 4-minute spurts we've seen all season in this conference. Oregon crushes Arizona.
Okay. Same play, multiple angles. The difference in this, the post with 1 camera angle, almost nothing. This got over 500,000 when we did the 6 camera angles with the voiceover and put up the graphics at the end. So it's meaningful for us to get that kind of traction and do it with people. That's it, Troy. You could stop it now. So it makes a difference to our business when we utilize this kind of collaboration and can pull all of that information back to San Francisco where we have the resident systems. We didn't have to travel it. It all resides with us. We have the talent that can put it together and publish it quickly. It makes a big difference for us. If this was a traditional field production, all of that information would be at the remote site. We'd have to wait till the game was over for them to send the information back to us in the melt at the end of the game. The editors would cut it up, do their package. By then it's old news. This all happened within 2 minutes after the play took place. We got it back to San Francisco in real time, edited it, and posted it within 2 minutes. So it makes a big difference. I think the gentleman who was speaking before me was talking about ITN. They had 3 hours to repost their game replays. The game's way over by then for us. So we're doing it within minutes what other people are doing for hours, just simply because we have these pipes and this collaboration, these collaboration tools in place. This distribution is aspirational for us. We don't have this in place yet, but we'd like to get there. And this is using the cloud to produce a linear master control and virtualize every process that you would now use in a physical instance for a television master control. Transcoding and versioning, our partner is Elemental on this. Our content acquisition, QC ingest, workflow automation with Amazon, and our content storage, I've already told you, is in Glacier. The promise of tomorrow, the vocabulary around this stuff is so so bad now. I just have to make up stuff, and it doesn't sound very good. But this is the webification of television for us. It's scheduling the content, the playlist manipulation in real time, the asset management, the on-air operations, but the ability to spin up as many networks as you have advertiser demand for, or how many regions of the country you're trying to serve. In the cloud, it's something easy. I don't have to build to my peak activity. I just have to build for my one stream, and I have my backup, my versions, my whatever I need to do it, I do it in the cloud. And for us, we're hoping, again, this is aspirational, we're hoping that this achieves what we think it can in terms of flexibility, and we believe cost savings at the end. So again, according to those operations, to expand during our live events, which are our most important aspect of our operation. And when the live event's over and we go into playback of repeats of old games or our shoulder programming, we just collapse everything back down to our single stream and run it from there. With or without backup, we'll make the choice whether there's enough sponsors or enough audience to have a backup stream going. So this is an important aspect. We're working on this. We haven't launched it yet. We're in the middle of talking to our vendors about it, but we believe it could happen. The complication is live television. If this was just a 24/7 playback of movies on HBO, it would be an easy thing to achieve. But with the need to manipulate the streams live and affect the operation live during a sporting event is what adds the complication. So these are the risks and challenges that I've faced. I thought I'd share them about trying to collaborate in the cloud. The adoption rate is brutal. Trying to displace the entrenched technology is never a picnic, but when you have the cost benefits that we had, it made it mandatory and helped people get with the program a little bit. The vendors have a level of captivity with you when you start putting petabytes of material out in Glacier. And you think about, if I ever want to get away from this vendor, how much it's going to cost to simply move my content from one cloud to another. And unless some competitor is willing to compensate me for that move, I'll probably never move. And I'll probably keep paying Amazon for as long as I have to. And it's a danger that I worry about. So far, they've been terrific partners. I shouldn't have this kind of paranoia about them, but I worry about it sometimes. I can't tell you that the skill set of your staff changes completely. We're more reliant on systems administrators and network engineers than we are on any kind of broadcast engineering mentality or architects or systems integrator. That doesn't matter to us. We worry about having our guys with Cisco certifications and AWS trained than we do worrying about them trying to maintain a Sony switcher in our production control rooms. This takes up a lot more. And I pulled this out of a Devoncroft presentation at last year's NAB, and it just seemed to point out to me the two ends of the spectrum when it comes to talking about these kinds of technologies and the way people use them. Vince Roberts, who's a good friend, so I put him on there, and I'm happy to share with him. This was the CTO worldwide for Disney saying he'll virtualize everything he can whenever he can do it. The one in the upper right is a gentleman. I took off his name because I think this is a very embarrassing statement that somebody would make. He's worried about the security of his HD SDI and that it's never been hacked. I guess he's never heard of a wardrobe malfunction on the Super Bowl, because to me, that represented a really bad episode for his network during that thing. So I don't know what he means about his fragility of the cloud. We use it every day. It's robust. It's never failed us, knock on wood. It performs brilliantly. We love our partners. They do great things for us. They allow us to produce content at a price point that we wouldn't be able to do otherwise. And I think I just have a few more. This is my last quote, just for a laugh. This is posted on our CER. It's as big as we can make it. We don't let friends build data center, and I'll be a happy man when my CER doesn't have a blinking light in it ever again. So we're working towards that end. And I think I have one more. That's it. Thank you, everybody.